Hello, welcome to PM Express. Tonight we are having a conversation about Parliament. Parliament just resumed, but this year is a whole different ballgame because it is an election year. And I have just a man to talk about the minority view on Parliament this year. He's going to be leading his team into the year, and there are a number of items that we're expecting will happen. From the State of the Nation address to that very controversial LGBTQ bill. But there's a fair bit of taxes too that Parliament approved last year that we're expecting it to come into effect. Is the minority side still opposed to it? We've heard the Vice President and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party say he will be abolishing some of these taxes if he's elected president on December 7. We're going to pick the thoughts of the minority leader who joins me for a conversation on PM Express tonight. He is Dr. Kaysel Atufosing. And as you know, PM Express is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks, also brought to you by Pepsodent, Alumobitas, and the Ghana AIDS Commission. When we return from the break, we'll get to hear his thoughts about the resumption of Parliament and how they intend to operate as a minority in this election year. And thanks for staying with us on PMXS. My guest is Dr. Kaysel Atufosing. He is the minority leader. And Happy New Year to you. I haven't seen you this year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Good to talk to you again. As we always do when Parliament resumes, we have a conversation because it sets a tone for what is about to happen in this particular meeting. And then, of course, for the rest of the year. Considering that this is an election year. So in terms of your approach, though, will the election year influence the aggression?
I think what we need to do as a country, and thanks to Mr. Speaker and the new standing orders, now we have a committee responsible for budget. What that committee needs to do, and I'm going to guide the committee to do that, is to ensure that the budget as approved by Parliament is adhered to.
It's been a few days now since you returned. The LGBTQ bill has been topical for a long time. You managed to usher it through the consideration stage.
Yes.
Where are we in terms of passage?
The LGBTQ, without a doubt, the LGBTQ bill, in fact, the name is proper, something I've forgotten about. Everybody calls it LGBTQ bill. It's going to be passed latest by Friday. We finished the consideration. What is left, we've got it printed. We are looking through it to make sure that all the amendment as moved and approved by Parliament are captured appropriately. And if that is done, tomorrow we'll go through it. And Thursday, we expect the Speaker to put the question. And by weekend, Ghana should have a bill called anti-LGBTQ bill. By this weekend, no doubt about it, it's going to go through.
That would be a landmark bill indeed. Considering the global backlash that other countries that have gone before us this way have taken on, this week will definitely trigger a global backlash. With economic consequences, possibly.
Well, the people of Ghana want this bill. Members of Parliament want this bill passed. In fact, the Speaker put a question out there and asked if there was any single member of Parliament who want this bill not to go through. And strangely, no one stood up against the bill. The details has been before Parliament since 2021. It has stayed here, if not one of the longest, but in my view, the longest, for 3 years plus, and we are still debating it. We have finished the consideration successfully. What is left for us to do now is to do the third reading. The third reading is only a matter of formality. The Speaker will put the question, and then those in favor will say yes or ayes, and then those who are against will obviously will have to say no or nays against it. But in the end, I have not seen a member of Parliament who's against this bill, regardless of what others are speaking to. The people of Ghana obviously are strongly in support of this bill. The Afrobarometer report suggests that almost 90% of the people of Ghana are in favor of the LGBTQ bill. And as we have now, currently, it's more or less a law.
But the president may not sign it if he passes it this week. Well, he's indicated that in other private members' bills that have been passed into laws and gone to his desk. And his argument is that that imposes a financial burden on the state.
Let me say that it is up to the president to decide not to sign it. And he has the power to not to sign it or sign it. But he should also be mindful of Article 108, I think 4 or 5, that obviously anticipate a situation like this. And if the president fails to sign it, it has to come back to Parliament, where MPs will use 2/3 majority to have it signed.
But you don't have 2/3 majority.
But I don't think the MPP members of Parliament will oppose it. In fact, the majority leader himself has been shepherding this bill. He's poking strongly in favor of the bill, and a good number of MPs that I know will not oppose this bill. So I think as it stands now, the LGBTQ bill, even if the president fails to sign, will be a law, because the mood of the country, and judging from what I hear from MPs, the president may not sign it. And if he fails to sign it, Parliament will get a bill signed.
Yeah, but the 2/3 majority question is a big one, because if the president, the man that, as you know, in this country, MPs, are very beholden to the president. In fact, when the party is in power, if he says, I'm not signing it, you really sincerely believe that the members of Parliament on the NPP side will break ranks?
Yes. You see, 2 years ago, I would say no. But now the president is weak within his own party. They see him more or less as lame. It's lame duck. I mean, they have a new leader. And you can see that loyalty and allegiance has moved from the presidency to the new flag bearer. And I sit in Parliament and I see it by the day. So it won't be like yesterday. And that is why even the vice president himself went and criticized the president's policies and all of that. It has moved. He's president of Ghana. But within his own party, he's lame. He's gone. Loyalty has moved and he's not in charge. And I see that every day. So I don't think that this is going to be an issue. The anti-LGBTQ bill will go through. The president may not sign it. I won't be surprised, because he has signaled that he may not sign it. But in the end, even his own party may force him to sign it. And if his own party fails to force him to sign it, he has to come back to Parliament after some days. And Parliament will have to evoke the constitutional provisions dealing with Parliament assenting to the bill with 2/3 majority. And in the end, it will go through. I have no doubt about that.
You're maintaining the custodial sentence for people who violate this particular bill?
Yes. There is a provision that deals with first criminalizing it, particularly the promotion of LGBTQ activities in our country, and what to do with it.
So you go to jail, minimum 3 years, maximum 5 years.
I know some colleagues have moved an amendment that is yet to be discussed to lower the sentencing and to make it non-custodial.
At this stage, is it possible to consider amendment?
It is still possible. You can do second consideration under the new standing order. There are ways you can have it done. But as to whether that can get the approval of Parliament is another thing. Because as I said, the mood of the House, not one person, almost the entire House. I've never seen one bill that almost everybody in the House supports like this. And I'm sure they are picking it from their constituency. And obviously, you represent a constituency. And when your people are against something, you can't come and support it. And I doubt one single member of Parliament, any one of us, can be bold enough, even if he has some views against it, to say no, he's going to vote for. So let's see tomorrow. It's not far, less than 24 hours. We'll do the final going through it, and Thursday we'll put the question to have it go.
What do you say to the international community? They've warned us,
yes,
not to go this particular route. In fact, just last week we heard from Amnesty International, and they've indicated that if you pass it the way it is, they will challenge at the Supreme Court, right? And you have the international community warning us that there will be consequences. Other countries on the continent went the same way. They face consequences as well, sometimes financially. What do you say to the international community?
So, I think it's a matter that we have a choice to make as a country. A choice to think about your family values and your culture, and a choice to change your culture in exchange of money. Okay, and let me put it bluntly, that's what it is. We have our values as a country. I'm a Christian. I come from a home. I'm a Ghanaian, and I can't fancy. We don't accept things like that, and I'm sure you don't accept it as well. The overwhelming majority of our people, 90% plus, are against the LGBTQ activities. I may have my own views, but as representative of the people, I have to listen to exactly what my people want and legislate accordingly. The choice is ours, to allow these activities to destroy the fiber of our heritage, or go for money and allow it to be destroyed. It's up to us. But for Parliament of Ghana, we have decided to protect the heritage of our country. And so be it.
Well,
so be it.
Talking about the president, whether he signs or not, he's going to come before you next week, I believe.
Yes.
On the 27th.
Yes.
He's going to come here on the 27th.
27th, yes.
27th of February, with his last but one State of the Nation address. In fact, his last one is...
This is the last one, but there's one that he'll just come and say bye-bye to us.
Before he leaves.
Before he leaves.
It's not as consequential, but he'll come before you. Considering where the economy is right now, and considering where we are with our democracy, what's your expectation of him next week?
I don't expect anything new. This is my president that he always come before us and speak grammar. So I expect another set of English language speaking. Nothing new, nothing more, but all English and language. I don't expect any policy change. He has simply messed us up, and he just coming to, find a nice way to say all what he's talking about, his famous free SHS, that is all what he's coming to talk about, and I don't know anything else. Because there's nothing before us. There's nothing. I mean, if you were to ask me what is the true state of the country, it's hardships, taxes and hardships. People are finding it very difficult to have 3 square meals a day. That is the state of the country. That is the state of the nation. You think the president will come and admit to that? No, he will not. So he will coin his own English language and come and speak to it.
But there have been improvements, right? Because it's coming at the time that we know the IMF itself in its last review, in its statement they issued, acknowledged that there has been positive. The recovery has been stronger than anticipated. We are talking about inflation that has declined now from 54.
So let me take you from there.
In January to 23%.
So let me
in December.
do that first.
Economic growth is rebounding. Spending is also under control.
Oh, no. Okay, so first, let me deal with the inflation aspect of 54 to 23. There's something in economics we call shrinkflation. This is a phenomenon where
your typical kenke, for example, reduces in size.
Exactly. The price is the same. So you have a price of kenke that is supposed to
feed people,
weigh 1 kilo at the cost of 2 cedis. So the same 2 cedis, but now it weighs half a kilo. So, and if the economists or the people measuring inflation goes out there, look at the basket, they're not looking at the size, but they're looking at price and conclude that inflation is coming down. That is not the reality on the ground. That is not the reality on the ground. Go to almost every restaurant. The prices of food, that's what it is.
Ghana Statistical Service, the only agency mandated to produce and churn out credible data, says otherwise. I will take their position over what you're saying.
Okay, so yes, but I respect the Ghana Statistical Service, but you see, they use price as a basis of measuring inflation, price stability, price, and in the basket the items that they will have to pick in the basket and use price. However, when inflation moves to hyper levels and it starts coming down, the price may have stabilized. But it doesn't mean that the quantity or the size is still the same. It doesn't. So that is a technical issue that we need to address going forward. But the reality out there is that hardships is on the rise.
But it's not as bad as it used to be a year ago.
It's not bad because, you see, the thing went to hyper levels and it was obviously escalating. This as a result of the currency and other factors. Today we've seen some stability.
Yes.
But that stability in
that
price.
That is the current state.
That stability in price. No, we've seen stability, but that stability in price on the back of the currency. It's not a decline as such. But you see, for example, I go out there to buy kenke. And the price of kenke yesterday and today may be the same. But unfortunately, the size is reducing. But so even though there is a theory that inflation is coming down, but inflation has happened. But the quantity is reducing. But
the statistics does not necessarily back that. I mean, you're assuming that that's what is happening.
The economy is your pocket. The economy is what you buy. Okay, let's leave it to the people of Ghana to check, to examine as to whether the inflation that they coming down is reflecting on the prices of goods and services that we use.
But talking about the state of the economy, though, that's not the only positive sign.
Oh no,
because
we're seeing some other ones.
Spending is currently under control. If you look at the fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP.
Spending is not
has declined from 10 to 10.8% in 2020 to 4.2% in 2023. The debt to GDP ratio.
No, fiscal deficit is not 4.2% in 2023. I disagree completely.
After increasing from 61, 61.2% in 2019, is now 76.6%.
It's not correct. It's not correct. I dispute these figures vehemently.
Why?
One, the fiscal deficit is not 4.2%.
What is it?
And I challenge the government to bring evidence to prove that it's 4.2. The fiscal deficit will be in excess of 7.5%. That is not, I don't know who is saying this and where the person is picking these numbers from. It does not correspond to the information before us. They recently presented a budget, and the fiscal deficit they are talking about is as at September. And as at September fiscal deficit, if it's at 4.2, does not mean the end year fiscal deficit will be 4.2.
Have you seen the end year yet?
No, it hasn't been published. But in fact, the data I have conducted. No, but you see, the data I have gathered and the simulations that I have done does not suggest that to be 4.2. Because one,
but I can only quote what I know.
You see, so they are using a higher denominator, like the GDP, as against expenditure, not actual expenditure, but actual expenditure as of September instead of December expenditure. So clearly, it will be lower. And that is not as of December. So I challenge them, and I'm surprised that the central bank not long ago held their MPC and they failed to bring out the debt to the fiscal deficit. They have the data. And that data, until they announce it properly, it's not 4.2, and it cannot be 4.2. Because the IMF document does not say that they are going to do 4.2%. It's not. It will be in excess of 7% plus. Then let me deal with the debt to GDP. The debt to GDP is not 79%, and it will not be 79%. It will be in the region of 90s. Because again, they are not adding the Dutch bond. They are not adding the, the Sino-Hydro. They are again not adding the other one, the energy sector bond, ESLA bond. All of this are debt. The IMF added it as part of Ghana's debt. And when they expressed it as a percentage of Ghana's GDP, at the time it was 103%. Today, once again, they have taken all of this debt outside the equation, and they are expressing debt to GDP at 79%. Again, they have failed to add the debt that they have accumulated from September to December as part of the debt to be calculated or expressed in a percentage of GDP. And most importantly, Ghana has defaulted in the payment of our debt. we are accruing
external
interest, both external and some local debt. Some local banks, we are not paying them. In fact, some of the bonds, we are accumulating some debt on them. This debt that we are accumulating, the interest that we are failing to pay, you need to be prudent. And if you want to be prudent, what you need to do is that this debt, they have not forgiven you this debt. You are renegotiating them. So to be prudent, simple means that account for this amount, add it to your debt, because it is accruals, as accountant will call it. You have accrued this debt. Add it to your debt, express it as a percentage of your GDP, and then provision for it, so that in future, when it becomes a liability, because it's indeed a liability, you will show it. So it's been understated, and I challenge them that they should come and disprove what I've said. That one, they have excluded Dachi. Two, they have excluded the ESLA bond, and they have also excluded three, the Sino-Hydro debt. Again, they have not added the debt from from September to December, and all the accruals in terms of the debt that we are supposed to pay and we have failed to pay, particularly from the external, they have failed to add it. Let them add it, and let's see where the debt to GDP will be. It will be almost 100%.
You don't dispute that when the president comes before you later this month on the 27th, you have a better story to tell now than he did last year?
I don't think so. I don't think so, unless he come before us and paint a cosmetic.
But the economic indicators tell a very obvious objective story.
The economy, Evans, is your pocket. If your pocket is good, then the president can be right. But if your pocket isn't well, it doesn't matter what the president says. The economy is my pocket. I don't feel good.
That is Dr. Kingsley. So I'm going to take a break. When I return, we'll talk about the taxes. And as you know, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is a flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, made the taxes a central pillar of his address last week, Wednesday. We're going to delve into that. Stay with me. And thank you for staying with us on PM Express. My guest is Dr. Kingsley. He is the minority leader. We are talking about Parliament, and we are talking about the election year and how he will be conducting his affairs as a leader of the minority front in Parliament. And just before the break, we were building up to Dr. Bawumia's speech. He was clear that if he wins, he will be abolishing a host of taxes. You should applaud him, because this is something you've campaigned on for the last many, many years. You definitely applaud him, don't you?
I am rather surprised at the turn of event for a number of reasons. Evans, you agree with me that until the last budget, our Vice President, Alhaji Bawumia, has always accompanied the minister responsible for finance to present the budget. You are aware?
Sometimes, not all the time.
Oh, all the time. Until the last one.
The last one.
Until the last one. Yeah. Until the last one. Then I took issues with him. That's why is he not here? He accompanied the minister responsible for finance, Ken Oforiatta, to impose the VAT. He, the vice president, accompanied him. We heard that he, the vice president, voted and supported the e-levy. This is according to the then General Secretary, who sits in cabinet.
But
who sits in cabinet? I'm coming. I'm building a point. I'm building a point.
Contradicts the point.
And most importantly, the minister responsible for information, Kojo Oponon Nkrumah, had said to City FM, and I have the video, I have the tape, that the vice president drafted the e-levy bill. And that is why he pushed for the exemptions that we saw, the 100 cedi exemptions, which today they are still paying.
Drafted, he said.
He drafted.
He said
that is the word that he used.
He was a member of the
no. I listened to him carefully, and I can
collective responsibility.
Yes. I can get you the audio. He said it. Because initially, when I saw it first, I put something out. My attention was drawn that he didn't say it, so I went out there and looked for the audio, and it confirmed the position as put out there by the media. It confirmed it. Evans, we in the NDC vehemently oppose the VAT, the e-levy, and we had a number of series of engagement on your show. You interviewed me. I was a ranking member then. I fought against this. We pointed out what it would do to our Ghanaian economy. We told them that it will not yield the required yield that they are proposing. In fact, our general secretary then, now our national chairman, came out to say that the NDC will remove it. Our flag bearer, President John Mahama, had said in public that we will remove it as part of our first budget. Now the person who drafted the bill accompanied the finance minister to parliament, get this bill to be introduced in parliament. The one who marshaled the NDC, the MPP MPs to vote in favor of this e-levy, now he's saying that Ghanaians.
But we didn't see him.
No. Come on. I mean, Evans. The same person now goes out there to say, "Oh, my," without even apologizing to the people of Ghana. Without even apologizing. But saying that, continue paying. When I become president, I will remove it. But what is his position now?
But his position is clear that the first thing he does if he wins is to abolish it. Yes. I mean, he is still a member of the economic management. In fact, he's a chairman of the economic management. He's a vice president.
Yes.
He's a leader of the party.
Yes.
And he's saying abolish a policy that the current government is still implementing. That should tell you he's been opposed to it.
No. You see,
why
typical of him, his dishonest nature, and the way he comes very cunning and thinking nothing but politics, and obviously with the aim that he wants to become president. But let me tell you something. This vice president, we all know today, he's the second in command in the President Akufo-Addo's government. Second in command. He acts as president when the president is out of the country. He is the leader of the MPP, the ruling party. If he so desires and want this bill, this tax removed, he should do it now.
He still hasn't
to prove to the people of Ghana that the leader of the MPP, the governing MPP party, the
party is not a government.
Oh, the governing MPP party.
The executive president takes.
Let me tell you.
The final decision.
Let me tell you.
He is not.
He cannot hoodwink the people of Ghana on the back of his stories. We've heard enough. We've heard enough of this. And in the coming days, I'll tell you what we are going to do. We will get someone, probably to bring a private member's bill to get these taxes removed, and see if the MPP will support it.
Which of them? Let's list them. E-levy?
A number of the taxes. Emission levy that we voted for. And some of the VAT. The betting tax and all of that. You remember, I had a show with you, your good self, myself, Kojo Oponkroma, and you hosted us. And you remember when I spoke about this betting issue. And I said that I don't think government's story that the youth are abusing it so they should tax them should be the basis of them imposing that tax. And I said that if the government for some reason believes that betting is destroying the youth, then the onus is on them to take a decision to scrap it. But imposing a tax on betting will not solve the problem. And that is what I said. I remember I opposed that betting tax, and we said that NDC does not believe in betting. The betting tax, NDC does not believe in it. And we said that if we are the NDC party, we actually brought the bill to get gaming commission and all of that legislated, and that if betting is on the rise and people are using it, yes, we support it, but we do not support the betting tax. And let me make this position clear. The tax on betting is something the NDC party does not support.
And you say you're going to bring a private member's bill to try and...
And so we should remove the tax on betting and allow the betting industry and find better ways. If you want to regulate it as such.
I'm curious about this announcement you've made about your plan to have the bills repealed.
Yes.
I mean, because it's currently law, which has been implemented. Why now?
Okay, so the Vice President has signaled to us that they don't want these taxes. That's what he said. And we saw their MPs in favor of these taxes, in favor of the Vice President position. We heard them. We saw some of them. So we want to test whether it is genuine. And so we'll bring the bill before Parliament and we'll get them to vote for or vote against it, and we'll see how it works.
But he says he'll do it next year.
Why next year? Let me tell you, Evans, the people of Ghana cannot wait and go through this kind of excruciating hardships. We are suffering. I come from a rural community. My constituents are struggling. They are going through difficult times on the back of some of these taxes. Remove the betting tax now. Remove the emission levy now. Remove the e-levy now. Now, e-levy, even if you send 50 Ghana cedis, they will deduct it. Even if you transfer money from your own wallet to another wallet of yours, they will deduct it. Contrary to what the law is saying. Contrary to the MPP's own, promise to the people of Ghana. They should remove it now. There's a number of taxes that they have introduced. A number of them. In fact, about 15 new taxes that they have introduced. Let me take you through it. And all of this, the NDC minority in Parliament voted against it. Let me take you through some of them. Are you aware that they have now introduced 21.9% VAT on insurance?
Which is
taking effect this month. So it has already started. 21.9% VAT on insurance. So insurance such as motor insurance, cars, trotros, they are all going to pay 21% more. In fact, 22% more on their insurance. Fire insurance for your company, your cost is going to go up. Goods in transit, building insurance, marine insurance, travel insurance, and all non-life insurance. Prices of this insurance.
This is building insurance.
So, for example,
the insurance that you pay on your building.
On your building. So if you pay 1 million Ghana cedis a year to insure your house, you are going to pay now 22% more, 1,222,000 Ghana cedis on your insurance. So this is what is happening. Aside that, this government has said they are introducing 5% VAT on the rental of commercial premises. So if you are going to rent store, normal store,
for
kiosks, for a business, kiosks, containers, you are going to pay VAT on it, including kiosks. So let your viewers understand that beginning this month, Alhaji Bawumia, the same vice president, the chairman of the economic management team, the chairman of the economic management team, in fact, the 2IC, the second in command of President Akufo-Addo's government in cabinet, and the MPP, they are imposing 5% VAT on containers, stores, kiosks, and many more. Any commercial premises. So your rent on commercial premises is going to go up. That is not enough. Evans, they are introducing 5% VAT anytime you go and buy a house. So if you go and buy your home...
But if you can buy a house, you can afford to pay more taxes to help develop this country.
We are in a country where there is a housing deficit. And people are crossing, the housing deficit is in millions. 1.5 million housing deficit. It is government policy, and it should be government policy, to encourage people to own their home. You don't tax it. You don't tax it, and I repeat. This government is introducing 5% VAT anytime you buy a house. And that house, it shouldn't necessarily come from when you buy from a real estate company. You go and buy it from a Kwanchan contractor or anybody who builds something for you. That person has to take VAT and pay 5% VAT. So houses prices, the prices of houses is going to go up by 5%, just like insurance is going to go up by 22%. And just like when you are renting kiosks and containers, the price is going to go up by 5%. As if that is not enough, Evans, you are aware that they are going to introduce a number of taxes on textbooks. They say imported, but how many of the textbooks are produced locally?
But that is a positive tax.
How many textbooks?
Because you are importing the tax. You are encouraging local production.
Okay, so if you are studying to be, I don't know a profession, they say a lawyer, your law profession and most of the law textbooks are not produced locally, most of them.
Yeah, but then if you do this, you're encouraging local production. At least get people to start doing it locally.
First of all, do they have the license to produce those books? They don't have it because it's somebody's book. So you need to have the copyright to be able to do it.
But policy can engineer this.
No. But you see, what sort of policy do they have in place now? They don't have any policy in place. They should tell me what policy they have in place to produce all these textbooks that we use, our students use. So simple put, students are going to pay 22% more on these textbooks that they use. As if that is not enough. Exercise books, newspapers, publications, architectural plans and similar drawings, scientific and technical works, magazines, periodicals and trade catalogs, price lists, calendars, diaries and stationaries such as color pencils, pencils and pens.
But these are all imported items.
Pencils and pens. How come the erasers? Yeah. So the eraser we are using. Sharpeners, office staplers and pins, A4 sheet, mathematical set, technical test highlighters. The highlighters we use. Yes. Do they produce them locally? Yes. Do they produce the highlighters?
Well, we can produce locally.
Do they produce? So they should show me who can produce it locally. Highlighters, markers, rulers, normal rulers. They are imposing taxes on it. Crayons, even little children, the crayons that they use. This Alhaji Bawumia, our vice president, President Akufo-Addo, this MPP government, the presidency of President John Mahama, the president of presidency under President John Mahama will remove.
But to put it in context, these are all imported items. Taxes. These are all imported items, and so that invariably is to encourage local production. And make that point again.
So first of all, I need to.
I mean, pencils.
I need to ask
why
you.
should we be importing
So
pencils?
you don't introduce these taxes in vacuum, and if your intention is to build an industry, it should be accompanied by a policy to change the industry into a local industry. But I don't see that. This government simply wants money. But they are turning themselves into octopus, taking money left, right, and
but
center.
They need the money.
That's
we are under an IMF.
So they should not lie to us that is because they want to encourage local industry. They should own it.
But keeping
it is because they want money.
You want to repeal these taxes now,
yes,
not next year when the vice president had originally intention to do.
Independence
but where is the fiscal space to accommodate the repeal of these taxes? Considering that Bawumia himself, when he was making that promise to repeal, said he will create the fiscal space first, at least before he repeals the admissions tax and the betting tax.
I can help the vice president to create the fiscal space now. Okay, for example, there are tax exemption requests before Parliament, requesting for exemptions for a number of MPP-owned companies, party cronies and party supporters, worth $459 million, equivalent to about 6 billion Ghana cedis. That my own fight against these tax exemptions, I've saved it. That is 6 billion gone. Additional 5 billion left. I can identify a number of wasteful expenditures in the budget, and I'll do that. And I'll take them off and spare the ordinary Ghanaian from paying this 11 billion draconian additional tax. For example, the tax on electricity is not necessary.
They have suspended it.
No, okay, but it doesn't mean they will bring it. They will not bring it back. They didn't say that because it's part of the fiscal, space for this year. It's part of their own fiscal formulations in terms of revenue. 11 billion is part of it. So that must go, and it must go now. Emission levy must go. E-levy must go.
You said the fiscal space.
And then it's 11 billion.
Suggest to them.
Yes. And
how
I have
to block that
hole
that will be created if it's repealed.
As a fiscal economist myself, this is what I do for a living. I do for other countries and businesses. I can help my country as minority leader. I've done it as a Deputy Minister of Finance. I will do it for Dr. Bawumia free of charge, if that is what he wants. And I will not charge him. I'm just doing it for the people of Ghana because we cannot afford to pay additional tax. We identify those taxes, that tax exemptions that is not necessary. We also identify a number of expenditure handles that we consider them wasteful and it's not necessary and it's counterproductive. And that will be enough to save the ordinary Ghanaian from paying emission tax and e-levy and everything else. So I'm available. But I can assure you, we have a number of options available to us. Option 1, to bring private members bill. We are reviewing the constitution. If the constitution allows us, we will do that. If that doesn't happen and the constitution places a bar on us, there's a second option. I won't disclose it, but there's a number of options that we will do in the coming days to get His Excellency, the Vice President, to compel his boss as the leader of the party that the President is part of, as the second in command in President Akufo-Addo's government, the chairman of the economic management team, and Ghana's Vice President to get these taxes removed, now that he himself has committed himself.
You've been a Deputy Finance Minister before when the country was on an IMF program. You have to find ways of raising revenue. At your time, you imposed taxes on car classes, for example. At that time, it was needed because you were under an IMF program that required that you raise revenue. Isn't this fair considering where we are?
I've heard the people of Ghana talk about the introduction of the emission tax. But it looks like they are only talking about an aspect of the emission tax. You know, the emission tax that the NDC opposed, that the NDC minority voted en bloc against it, had two legs. The tax in question has two legs. The first leg deals with combustion engines. So any engine that actually uses diesel or petrol. And said that Okada riders like bicycles, and like tricycles, Prajia and Aboboya and Okada are all going to pay. And Trotro, Uber, Yango and others are all going to pay. So they are obviously the price is going to go up, or their cost is going to go up, and they may end up transferring it to the ordinary person. But there's an important one that we need to talk about, and that one deals with the emission, or in other words, the inwusio that these industries produce. The important leg. This has to do with the construction industry, for example. They are now saying that the graders that the construction industry use, every grader will pay 100 Ghana cedis per ton of inwusie that they produce. And I asked the question, how are you going to measure that ton of inwusie? So they have some basket that they will be going around and they will use that basket to measure that inwusie.
But they are.
I mean, how?
But you have equipment that measures emissions.
So they're saying that they have grader, compactors, concrete mixtures,
that can be scientifically measured.
Caterpillar, backhoe loaders, and all construction equipment. They will be paying 100 Ghana cedis of every emission they emit in the course of the year. So how do you do that? And how are you going to go around? How are you going to go around? How are you going to go around to scientifically measure all of this? Then they said manufacturing sector.
That is protecting environment.
So manufacturing sector. No, I don't think there are contractors all over the country.
No, I mean this is for emissions. The contractors will pay.
Yes, they are going to pay. Yes,
as emissions tax.
Exactly.
That is protecting environment.
This tax is nuisance because they can't collect it. You cannot get this graders all over. You cannot get these compactors and concrete mixtures all over the country and get them. It's nuisance. You can't collect this tax. In fact, it will not pass the test of a good tax policy. Simply nuisance. Manufacturing sector. They are saying that tomato processing factories, flour mills, oil palm processing factories, fruit processing factories, plastic processing factories, cement plant, sawmill industry, corn mill, Nika for them to help you get a corn dough. They are going to pay 100 Ghana cedis per emission. So the price of kenke can go up. The prices of kenke can go up. Nika, corn mill industry, and many other all manufacturing industry. As long as you emit in Wusie, you are paying 100 Ghana cedis per ton of Wusie. So they will come and measure depending on the ton of Wusie that you produce. You pay 100 Ghana cedis. Not only that, and it will depend on the tonnage of Wusie that you produce. So if you produce 100,000 like the power plant, and I've seen the power plant industry issuing a statement that this is going to affect their businesses and the government and increase the cost of electricity. Aside that, they're saying mining sector will be paying emission tax. Excavators, crushers, screening equipment, grinding equipment, classification equipment, drilling rigs, gold washing plant, and all other mining sector equipment, as long as it uses diesel and petrol. Evans, it's not enough. I'm not done. They said the oil and gas sector, all of them, they'll be paying emissions on pumps, compressors, drill mast, heating, ventilation, and air conditioner equipment, HVAC, among others. All other oil and gas sector equipment, as long as it is powered by diesel and petrol, 100 Ghana cedis per ton.
So the list is a long list.
It's a long list. But let me give you another important one.
Is clear.
Yes.
To raise additional revenue because of where we are in the economy.
Another important one: electricity and heating sector, such as owners of generators and power plants, will all be paying 100 Ghana cedis. So your generator at home, if it produces in Wusie smoke, Evans, you'll be paying 100 Ghana cedis minimum per ton. And if your generator is so old that it's producing at 500 tons per year, you're paying 500 Ghana cedis for your own generator at home.
So this has already been approved by Parliament?
No, say that this has already been approved by the MPP Parliament, because the NDC Parliament voted against it.
But as I was asking,
generators will all be paying taxes.
As I was asking, the purpose of this is clear. We are under an IMF program. We need the revenue. You understand that? As an economist yourself, you understand. As a former finance minister, you understand that.
So, Evans, I'm an economist. I'm a tax practitioner. I understand this, but I can tell you, this tax is simply nuisance, not needed, and this tax must go. But I can tell you for a fact why the NDC MPs voted against this. We did our own assessment of some of these taxes, and I've been on shows with yourselves. And there are times that I support government position on a particular tax. I said, this is spot on, this is a good tax. Ghanaians must bear with government and they should pay. But when a government ran a whole country aground, in fact, took 33 million Ghanaians on a bus and drive us into a ditch, and for a mate who is part of it to turn around to come and tell us that, hey, I was part of the team that ran you aground, but I won't say I'm sorry. Some of the taxes that we have implemented, pay now, and when you vote for me and I become president, I will remove it. That's so bizarre.
Let me ask
That's so bizarre of that mate. He doesn't qualify to be a mate of that car because he helped the driver to drive us aground.
You've told us that you would be returning to Parliament with the bill in an attempt to repeal them. Will these be part of the taxes that you would?
All the taxes that we have opposed, we will make an attempt to get a government to remove it. In fact, now that the vice president himself has come to confirm to us that
because emissions levy is part of the
what he said.
He said.
Yes, because we have already said on the floor. In fact, he's only copying what the NDC is saying. Because I have said on the floor, the hands that will bear me out, the next NDC government will remove this. I've said this. I am the first person who opposed
so why don't you wait for your government to come?
Why should we wait? Why should we wait? Ghanaians are struggling.
But you said the next NDC government. It is
not easy. The only reason why
change between when you said the next NDC government to now bringing it now.
The only reason why this tax is still effective, and your good self, my good self, and the ordinary Ghanaian is still paying this tax, is that the NDC is not in office. In fact, if NDC is in office, if Ghanaians vote for us, and when Ghanaians vote for us, by December, our first budget before Easter will remove all these taxes.
But
now we are not in office. This is a government that is in office. They have said they will remove it in 2025.
Your plan.
To show good faith to the people of Ghana, we urge them to come and remove it.
And you're saying you're going to compel them to do so by bringing the bill?
Yes, we have to compel them. We have to compel them. And that is what it is. We have to compel them to remove these taxes. Because Evans,
are you going to do it in this particular meeting?
Evans, I don't want to show you the roadmap. That is under my sleeves.
But it's going to
give you the road. It is going to come. And we are going to have a strategy to deal with this, to find a way to get the government to remove these taxes, because you see, it's unconscionable. And Ghanaians are struggling.
You mentioned unconscionable. How do you reconcile that this is a second IMF program in the last 10 years? The last time we went, you were Deputy Finance Minister. You were also compelled to impose taxes on a whole host of things, including catalysis.
Yes.
How do you reconcile that with what is happening now?
Evans, we did not impose taxes on Wusie. That as soon as, and very, very soon, as soon as you produce a mission, Wusie, then you pay tax. Okada rider is paying. Aboboya rider is paying. Prajia is paying. Taxes are paying. Trotro is paying.
Is the globally accepted tax now? Is the globally accepted tax now to protect the environment? It is
so Evans,
to get people to shift towards
how
green.
many countries in Africa has this tax? They should show me one country in Africa that has it. They're only running behind or hiding behind the need for revenue to consume and waste to impose these taxes. Evans, if this government is using these taxes as they collect them to things that all of us can see and touch, tangible, or even if it's intangible and it's of good cause, Evans, I won't complain. This government has proven to be wasteful. This government has destroyed our livelihood. This is a government that upon doing all of this, they even failed to apologize to the people of Ghana. I would have thought that His Excellency the Vice President Alhaji Bawumia, when he had the opportunity to speak to the nation, he would have first apologized to the people of Ghana for being a terrible mate and a wicked mate, for allowing the boss to drive the entire 33 million Ghanaians aground.
Dr. Kizlato Forsing, thank you very much.
Thank you, Evans. Thank you.
So that's Dr. Kizlato Forsing, my guest tonight. A lot he said. We'll wait to see what that bill says when they submit it, an attempt to force the hand of the majority side to repeal the bills that, of course, was passed by Parliament into law. That it means that you are paying more taxes now. That Bawumia says he will repeal if he's elected president. Enjoy the rest of your evening.